What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, hate. So we have to talk about this, y'all. Like I told you before, we have too many liars. Okay? Too many liars. And too many people quick to report lies. And when they find out the truth, after they've spoken as a fanboy and said so much, they want to act like they don't hear the actual truth of the news. So I watched the interview with Chris Eubanks Jr. It looks like they're on top of a building somewhere and out in London. And pretty much he spoke about how he felt. He was satisfied with his win. He fought hard. He pushed himself. He gave it all he had. Now, we can all see Chris Eubanks Jr. was weight drained. We could all see that Chris Eubanks Jr. was pushing himself and would not stop pushing himself. Now, we've seen him push harder where we've seen other fighters fall apart, lose, and then start saying a bunch of, they're talking about, I'm pretty sure I could win a rematch, like Conor Ben is doing right now. Yeah, I want my revenge and all, whatever. And the reality is, for Chris Eubanks Jr. to be weight drained at this weight that they came in, and Eddie Hearn to sit there and say he thinks Chris needs to come down more. Come on, man. Now, let's reverse the roles. And Chris Eubanks Jr. is Eddie Hearn's fighter. You think he'd be saying that? Absolutely not. And if he sat there and said what he said about Conor Ben in terms of, I don't want to see him in too many fights like this because these are the fights that shorten your career. Okay, then. So shoe on the other foot, same way. You can get unalived in that ring because guess what? I'm weight drained. I'm dehydrated, right? I feel weak. I have to force myself. I'm getting tired when I normally don't get tired. All of those things. So, of course, he wouldn't be telling, of course not. He would be telling Chris Eubanks Jr., I think you need to come down more. No. He'd be telling Conor Ben, you need to come up more. You can come to 160. See, Conor Ben says he can go to 160 with no problem. He's shown he can fight a full-blown middleweight and take his punches and all of that. Right, but Eddie says something different. So, if Eddie used if he says, well, I'm looking out for the best interest of my fighter, the fighter's gonna want to go in there, but I don't think it's in his best interest. Okay, cool, Eddie, but at the same time, you are the one sitting here talking about Conor. You think that Chris should come down in weight. So if you really care about the safety of a fighter, period, why would you want to suggest something that could really go wrong completely? Now, if when something goes wrong, let's not forget, Nigel Benn was involved in a fight where, a fighter went into a coma, man, and we know the story with that. We know the story, and we see how it broke him down when he saw that guy in person, face to face for the first time. And damn well, you can't take it back, you can't change it. That can happen to any fighter. You can come into a fight healthy and still something can happen, but this is why there's levels to this shit, and top level fighters are going to be more equipped than top level fighters. That's why certain fights is a mismatch and shouldn't happen at all. Now, Conor Ben went in and fought, but he lost. I don't care about all the specifics and people trying to, Conor was the smaller guy, whatever. Conor was the smaller guy, but had a much bigger mouth, a much bigger attitude, and I'm telling you, man, Conor just seems like what he shows me. He's a very selfish. It's all about me, cocky, egotistical. I can do no wrong. Let's make excuses for me. Now, during this interview, the interviewer asked Chris Eubanks Jr., which Chris did, it was common sense to me, but I guess he just wanted to let them know what, basically, no, he didn't ask him. I think he asked him, why did he go to the hospital? But Chris wound up saying, that Conor and Eddie choose to tell people that I got a broken jaw. I told you guys, common sense. After the fight, I said, well, we'll have to hear that from him. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see a broken jaw. This man is talking normal, yelling, yes, and, but when you're adrenaline, man, please shut up. I've had many fights in the ring. I've broken people's jaws. I've broken people's jaws outside the ring. I've had many street fights. I know when you get a broken jaw, you don't talk the same way. Okay? And there was nothing wrong with Chris Eubanks' speech, the way he was talking, with nothing. Now, this is the night after. And he said that he got headbutted. He had to go get, whatever surgery or whatever on his eye or whatever from a headbutt. And basically, Frank Warren said that he went because he was badly dehydrated as well. Now, that all being said, doesn't that make you think, where the hell did Nigel Benn and Eddie Hearn come up with this he got a broken jaw story from? Where did that come from? At what point did any one of you look at your TV screen and say, I think Chris got a broken jaw? At what point did you think that? So when I heard kind of been saying it, and you guys know in a video, I'm like, well, that's what they're claiming, but I don't see a broken jaw. And like Chris said, no broken jaw here. But he said it more than one time. Eddie Hearn said it. Where do they get this shit from? Once again, I will agree with the truth. I will agree with logic and sound reasoning and critical thinking, but I do not sit and let me report this. I saw channels, several channels, had a thumbnail up with an x-ray of a broken jaw, saying that Chris Eubanks Jr. was sent to the hospital with a broken jaw. And I said, no, I don't believe he has a broken jaw. Just like I don't believe Pacquiao had no fucking torn rotator cuff, because if you have a torn rotator cuff and you raising your arms, everything's cool, and then all of a sudden you come to the ring, to the press conference, to the post conference with a fucking with your arm in a sling. A couple of days later, you go swimming in some sea salt and God healed you. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. Yeah. So same thing. So I guess they went and fixed his broken jaw. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I know I'm not wrong. When you have a broken jaw, they wire your shit, and you talk like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I ain't got no broken jaw. This dude is talking normal, because they wire your shit. Now, why is it that his jaw is not broken now, but it was broken after the fight? Like I said, man, Chris Eubanks, he did what he had to do. He won the fight. And like I said, the fight wasn't nearly as close as they tried to say it was. Eddie Hearn talking that bullshit about he thought the fight could have been a draw at the most. So he's trying to not say robbery. He don't want to, but that's pretty much what he's saying. I thought it was just a draw. A draw? Come on, man. No. I definitely didn't have this fight scored as close as everybody else did. And like I said, those chopping shots on the inside, Chris was landing so many of them. I guess those shots don't count, because if their head's not snapping back, it doesn't look as impressive, right? Or whatever. But Chris won the fight, and I'm hearing sour grapes. Revenge, I want my revenge. Oh, I'm sure I can win a rematch. I know you said all of that the first time. Remember when Chris was preparing for the rematch with the guy that beat him, and Connor walks over to him, he's talking shit, he shoves Chris, and all of these things. See, people forget that. So when Chris smashed that egg on his face, it was like, great. Now you're even. All that attitude, all that vigor, all that anger and rage, and you went in there and couldn't close the show. And you stood there looking like a little baby holding on to your father, disappointed. You knew you lost that fucking fight. You could see it in his fucking face at the end. He knew he lost. Listen, Conor can talk all this shit he want. He know Chris won that fight. You could see his body language, everything. He knows he did not win that damn fight at all. He knows he didn't win it. But the main thing for me is the lack of sportsmanship, the lack of being able to just tell the truth. So even for you to turn around and say you think you won the fight and all that, the big thing for me is what really hurts is him missing weight and all of this bullshit. But yet you come up with lies, man. Where did you get the jaw broken? Eddie's not in the ring like you. So even if you said you thought you broke it, where do you just come up with this I broke his jaw bullshit from? Eddie Hearn said the same thing. They rushed him to the hospital because he has a broken jaw. Is this supposed to make Chris angry and say, okay, rematch is on or whatever? Yeah, he's pissed because he did all that talking, and they hoped that Chris would come in weight drained, and that he was going to beat him. And remember, like he said, Chris was already making excuses about the weight. Oh, Chris, this and that. When Chris was like, I'll be 60%. No, remember the first time? And all this shit, you can see this getting under Conor's skin. But Conor, no. You know why it bothered him so much? Because he know that was the plan. This wasn't about let's play on a even playing field. 160 is too much for me and 154 is too low for you, so let's meet at a catch weight. No, this was let's try to drain Chris as much as we possibly can, and they probably thought Chris's ego would make him say, fine, let's fight at whatever rate. And here's the thing. He took the fight like a man, and then he went in there and won. And just like I said, he told you all, no broken jaw here. So ask yourselves, where the fuck did Eddie Hearn and Conor Ben come up with this shit? And why did they emphasize it several times in that post-conference? Liars will be liars. The same way we need to clean up this sport as far as drug cheats, the same thing. These lies need to be exposed too. Eddie should be ashamed of his fucking self, and so should Conor. Sore losers, sour grapes, eating crow. They lost, and they don't know how to deal with that shit. Move the fuck on, but stop the goddamn lies. That's all I got for you guys right now. Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch you guys on the next video.